Good afternoon and welcome to this Job Accommodation Network webcast on accommodation solutions for skilled trades and essential occupations. Supporting workers with disabilities in skilled trades and essential occupations helps employers retain skilled employees, boost productivity, and strengthen their workforce. In this webcast, we'll explore practical accommodation solutions for jobs in construction, manufacturing, public safety, and distribution centers. All right, now I'd like to introduce today's speakers. First, Matthew McCord is a senior consultant and motor mobility specialist with JAN. He provides training and technical assistance on workplace accommodations and Title I of the Americans with Disabilities Act, with a focus on practical solutions for people with musculoskeletal and motor mobility related conditions. Matthew is also a certified rehabilitation counselor. And then we have Lisa Mathis, who is a JAN principal consultant and ADA specialist. She provides expert guidance on Title I of the ADA and workplace accommodations. Lisa works with employers, HR professionals, and legal teams to navigate the interactive accommodation process and develop effective policies that support hiring, retaining, and advancing employees with disabilities. And Lisa also specializes in motor impairments as JAN's motor team lead. And then finally, I am Tracy DeFreitas. I am a JAN program leader and training director. For more than 30 years now, I've provided expert consultation and training on workplace accommodations in the ADA, helping organizations navigate complex accommodation situations. I also lead JAN's training initiatives and help oversee the program's daily operations. Lisa and Matt, thank you for joining me and for collaborating on today's training. I really appreciate having you here today and look forward to what you have to say. Now, before we transition to the program content, let's briefly highlight today's learning objectives on the next slide, very briefly. So attendees of this training will gain practical strategies for implementing workplace accommodations in skilled trades and essential industries, including practical guidance on the accommodation process, industry-specific solutions. You're going to hear a lot about that, and access to JAN resources to support effective workplace outcomes. So let's get started. Now, this month, July, marks the 36th anniversary of the Americans with Disabilities Act, which, of course, is a landmark federal law that helped establish a foundation for workplace accessibility and practical accommodation solutions. More than 30 years after its implementation, workplaces, they look very different. Jobs are certainly more complex, work environments are more varied, and organizations do continue to face hurdles related to workforce shortages, retention, productivity, and risk management. These are situations that just businesses generally do face. As we look to the future, beyond America's 250th birthday, accommodations remain an important American workforce tool, not as exceptions, but as part of effective day-to-day operations, just part of the fabric of the American workforce. Reasonable and effective accommodations, they help organizations retain skilled employees, they support performance, they reduce disruption, and they maintain workforce stability, especially in essential industries. So we're talking about construction and manufacturing and distribution and public safety today. Of course, there are others, but those are the industries we're going to focus on here today. And in these industries, effective accommodation practices, they can contribute to reduced turnover, faster return to work outcomes, and also improved performance. So as the nation looks beyond its 250th birthday, we can build on the ADA's foundation and continue strengthening workplaces for the future through accommodation. Now, today we're going to focus on practical accommodation approaches that help qualified workers with disabilities succeed in these essential industries. And in these industries, the nature of the work is often very fast-paced, it can be physically demanding, and highly task-focused. Employees may work in difficult environments, they may use specialized equipment to do their jobs, and they may perform duties where safety and consistency and productivity are very much critical. And in these settings, workers may also experience health conditions or functional needs that affect how certain tasks are performed. So, for example, we may have veterans with disabilities transitioning to civilian careers. We may be talking about workers who are recovering from injuries, and also experienced workers who might be extending their careers as they age. And Jan finds in these industries, construction, manufacturing, distribution, and public safety, accommodation is often about maintaining capability, preventing unnecessary turnover, and safely matching workers to operational demands. Now, one of the central requirements of Title I of the ADA is the obligation to provide reasonable accommodations. If doing so, of course, does not create an undue hardship for the employer. And the ADA, it provides a framework for workplace accommodations and the accommodation process. Now, just to kind of define it quickly, an accommodation, it's a change or an adjustment to the hiring process, the job, or the work environment that enables a person with a disability to participate in hiring or perform essential job functions or ultimately access equal employment opportunities. Mostly, it's a practical adjustment or that basically enables that person, that qualified worker, to perform the essential job functions. And that's typically what we're talking about when it comes to accommodations. We do talk a lot about the person who's on the job and any adjustments they may need in order to perform those essential duties. Now, accommodations, they of course don't eliminate essential job expectations or lower performance standards. Instead, they provide workers with tools and adjustments or basically alternative methods of performing those essential job tasks. And some common examples of accommodations in skilled trade and essential worker occupations include things like equipment modification. So maybe it's anti-vibration tools or material handling equipment. It could be schedule flexibility, which might be modified start times or additional rest breaks. It could be communication tools like two-way radio headsets, visual alarms. It could be written work instructions or even speech-to-text apps as well. Task restructuring is pretty common. That's where we might be doing things like rotating tasks to reduce repetitive strain. It could be PPE or personal protective equipment adjustments like protective clothing or hearing protection that's compatible with hearing aids. And ergonomic solutions like anti-fatigue matting or adjustable workstations. Lisa and Matt are really going to expand on these accommodation strategies, so you're going to hear a whole lot more about all of that. But that just kind of lays the foundation for the types of accommodations we commonly see in these industries. But before Lisa and Matt go into it, I do want to just share some information about finding accommodation solutions through the interactive accommodation process. So we'll just hit this in just a high level way. The interactive process, it is an ongoing collaborative conversation between the employer and the worker. It's a flexible, informal dialogue that's focused on understanding the job, identifying the workplace barriers, and finding a practical solution that supports both the worker's ability to do the job and the business's operational needs. So when somebody shares that they have a health condition or a disability that's affecting their ability to do their job, that's when we have an interactive process, that conversation to really kind of figure out what the job requires, what's getting in the way, and what adjustments might help. And in skilled trades and essential occupations, practical job-focused discussions often lead to effective solutions. So looking again at this at a very high level, just really consider a few tips to keep in mind here. I think in these industries, we want to focus on the essential functions of the job, identifying the key duties, pinpointing where the job-related barrier exists, and discuss accommodations that'll help the worker perform those duties successfully. There should be a shared responsibility between the employer and the worker in this process. So we're all going to be working together to come up with solutions and to figure out what's really required in the job. Second, involve supervisors early. They understand the day-to-day work, the equipment that's used, and the workflow, and can often suggest practical solutions that fit the job. So involve them in the process of really figuring out the work and what is possible. And finally, document the process. So keep a record of the request, the accommodations considered, the decision, and any follow-up that might be involved along the way. Good documentation, it helps ensure that accommodations are implemented consistently and continue to work over time. Very important in these industries. Ultimately, the goal is to find an effective solution that supports both the employee's ability to do the job and the organization's operational needs. So keep that goal in mind. For information about the accommodation process to go more in depth and to really get some great information on that, we would like to refer you to Jan's Workplace Accommodation Toolkit at askjan.org. And you'll see that that's linked here, and so you can access it real easily on the Jan website. So do check that out. Now, before we move on, one quick note here. Throughout today's training, we're going to mention a variety of accommodations, products, vendors, services, and resources to illustrate workplace solutions. These examples are provided for informational purposes only and are not endorsements or recommendations by Jan. Our goal is to introduce a range of options that may help you identify solutions that fit your workplace and specific situation. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Lisa to discuss accommodation solutions in the construction industry. Lisa?
Thanks, Tracy, for laying that groundwork on the ADA and how to implement effective, reasonable accommodations. We are going to hear more from Tracy after Matt and I work our way through a few key industries today. So with that, let's get started. Construction workers perform physical labor to build or repair roads, buildings, or other structures. Due to the nature of construction workers, they often experience extreme physical stress, which may make it harder for disabled construction workers to perform their essential job tasks. However, a variety of accommodations can help construction workers with temporary or permanent disabilities perform their jobs safely and effectively. But of course, as a reminder, employers should always review the appropriate workplace safety standards in determining accommodations. Next slide. So job tasks in construction commonly involve lifting, carrying, and moving materials throughout the workday. When an employee experiences an injury, surgery recovery, or another condition that affects strength, balance, reach, or mobility, there could be accommodation options that allow them to continue working safely and effectively. For example, a tile setter recovering from an arm injury may have difficulty lifting and transporting materials in confined work areas. But there are compact material handling devices that could reduce the physical strain of moving materials while still allowing that employee to work around in those tight spaces. Likewise, an iron worker returning to work after a hip replacement could be able to perform the essential job tasks with the assistance of a portable lift that helps move heavy beams and materials, which reduce the needs for his manual lifting. In some cases, the solution could be changing how the materials move throughout the work environment. A carpenter with a shoulder injury, for example, could benefit from ball transfer tables that allow materials to be guided from one workstation to another workstation rather than being carried by hand. Technology can also help reduce force and repetitive strain. A glazier with elbow tinnitus may use a vacuum lift to safely handle and position large glass panels that minimize the stress on the affected arm while protecting the materials from damage. And then employees that may have medical conditions that affect balance, lifting equipment can improve both safety and productivity. This is where we might see a drywall finisher that has vertigo. They might benefit from a drywall or wallboard lift that assists with moving and positioning materials throughout that work site. These examples reinforce a key concept under the ADA, that accommodations are designed to help qualified employees perform those essential job functions, not eliminate them, by providing the tools and technology and the modifications needed to do the job successfully. I do encourage attendees today to download and review these slides, as we have embedded many hyperlinks throughout this whole presentation to Jan resources organized by disability, by functional limitation, and work-related function. So on this slide, you're going to see we even have a link to even more lifting solutions. Next slide. Another strategy for addressing those lifting and carrying needs that we all see is to reduce the amount of manual material handling that's even required on the job site. Construction work often involves transporting heavy materials over long distances or uneven terrain or different elevations, and equipment can sometimes bridge that gap while allowing employees to continue performing essential tasks. For example, we might have a laborer with a leg impairment that might have difficulty unloading materials from trucks or trailers. This is where a lift gate could assist with raising and lowering heavy loads, reducing the physical demands associated with loading and unloading materials at the worksite. Or we might have a pipe fitter with a carrying restriction related to a heart condition. They might benefit from a cart, and there's all types of carts on the market today. There's motorized, there's multi-purpose, there's spring-loaded carts, and these simple tools can help transport materials between work areas, again, while minimizing that physical exertion of that heart condition. Sometimes the best solution might be eliminating unnecessary lifting altogether. This is where we might see a roofer with a back impairment. They might use an aerial lift to transport shingles up to that roof to the elevated work area rather than hoisting them and carrying them up the ladder themselves. And that could probably benefit more than just the injured worker or the disabled worker. It could probably benefit the whole work staff. We also see mechanical lifting equipment. They can support employees who experience fatigue or reduced strength. This is where you might see an HVAC worker with multiple sclerosis. They might have a truck-mounted crane to lift and position those big, heavy, bulky HVAC units, while a bricklayer undergoing cancer treatment might use a compact mobile crane to move heavy loads of bricks around the site with less physical strain. In landscaping and other outdoor trades, powerlifting devices can be equally effective. We might have a landscaper recovering from a shoulder injury. They might use a winch or a chain hoist to remove large trees or moving heavy lifting or heavy materials that would otherwise require a significant amount of physical effort. You'll see how these accommodations can help employees continue contributing their skills and expertise by reducing physical demands of work moving materials while maintaining that productivity and supporting safe work practices. Next slide. Some common tasks in construction and related trades, reaching overhead, we see this every day, reaching overhead, working at ground level, or maintaining those awkward positions or postures for extended periods of time. When a medical condition affects an employee's ability to bend, stretch, or reach safely, accommodations could be used to bring the work closer to that individual rather than having the employee physically adapt to those physically demanding positions. So a painter with a neck injury may have difficulty reaching overhead for long periods. This is where a telescopic handle attachment can extend that employee's reach, allowing the work to be completed, reducing the strain on the neck and shoulder. Other situations, changing the employee's working height might be the most effective solution. So an electrician with thoracic outlet syndrome could benefit from a work platform that raises and lowers that individual to the appropriate height when working with overhead wiring. Accommodations can also help employees who need to work closer to the ground. A plumber with a back condition may use a low task chair or a low position stool when installing pipes under sinks or working near floor levels. This can reduce the need for repeated bending, kneeling, again, that awkward positioning throughout an entire work shift. Simple tools can also make a significant difference. We have a laborer with an elbow impairment. They might use a reacher to access materials or complete tasks that would otherwise require repetitive stretching or reaching. In a similar idea, we have adjustable lift tables that can help position materials at a more comfortable working height. An inspector with a hernia could benefit from that lift table that reduces the need to bend and reach or manually reposition items during inspections. Again, these examples just illustrate a common accommodation strategy, modifying the work position rather than changing that essential task. You're reducing excessive bending, reaching, and awkward postures. Employers can help employees perform their jobs more comfortably, more safely, and more effectively. All right, looking at climbing, it's another common job demand in these construction settings. Um, Whether you're accessing equipment, you're working at elevations, or moving between levels of a work site, employees may encounter challenges related to pain, balance, mobility, or other medical conditions. In many cases, accommodations can help improve access and safety while allowing employees to continue performing those essential functions. We might have a crane operator with arthritis. They might have pain whenever they're climbing into equipment. So folding steps could provide a more accessible way to enter and exit the crane, again, reducing strain during those routine tasks. Or sometimes the challenge involves reaching elevated work areas. So this is where you might see a pipe fitter who's a little person. They might benefit from a lightweight, compact ladder that provides safe access in tight spaces where larger equipment might not be practical. It's also important to consider whether equipment appropriately fits the employee's needs. A manager with obesity who needs access to these elevated areas, such as rooftops or upper work platforms, might benefit from a large rated ladder or a large rated step ladder it's designed to accommodate safely these higher weight capacities. In some situations, stability and confidence are key considerations. Rolling ladders, which typically have a gentler climbing angle with handrails and locking casters, might provide a safer option for a brick mason with a fear of heights who needs to access elevated work areas while maintaining a greater sense of stability. There's also safety cage ladders, which offer stability when needing to work with both hands. Employees with balance-related conditions could also benefit from accommodations that support safe movement, such as stair assist devices that could help a civil engineer with Parkinson's navigate stairs more safely while maintaining balance and independence. Climbing accommodations are often about improving access, stability, and safety. By matching the right equipment to an employee's specific needs, employers can enable employees to perform those functions while reducing unnecessary risks at the work site. In construction settings, we often see these employees are exposed to dust, to fumes, odors, paints, adhesives, and all types of substances as part of their daily work, right? So when an employee has a respiratory condition or a sensitivity to certain conditions, certain chemicals, accommodations may focus on reducing exposure to those irritants while still allowing that person to perform essential functions. A floor installer with a respiratory impairment and chemical sensitivities could benefit from the use of alternative materials, such as low or no odor paints, stains and sealants, or different flooring products. In some situations, you might be selecting materials with fewer airborne irritants that can reduce symptoms while still permitting that employee to work effectively. Tracy mentioned personal protective equipment, PPE. That might be an important accommodation tools whenever someone is sensitive to these irritants. A drywall finisher with asthma, for instance, could work with a mask or powered air supply to help limit exposure to dust and airborne particles generated during finishing work. Again, this slide really emphasizes that accommodations are not always about changing or remove job tasks. It's the most effective solution is reducing exposure to workplace irritants through equipment, protective devices, or alternative materials that could help that employee work safely and comfortably. So looking at different accommodation strategies, adapting tools that we use every day. In many construction trades, employees rely on hand tools or power tools for extended periods of time. And different medical conditions can affect grip strength or finger dexterity or joint function. And repetitive motion, this is what we see on the motor team a lot. Repetitive motion um, conditions can make those tasks more difficult. So relatively simple modifications can reduce strain and pain and improve comfort without changing that essential work that's being performed. So you might have a framer with carpal tunnel syndrome. They might benefit from ergonomic or pneumatic tools that maintain a more neutral wrist position. It reduces forceful gripping and minimizes vibration during those repetitive tasks. Or we might have people that are exacerbated by the vibration from power tools. So a riveter with rheumatoid arthritis in the fingers could benefit from an anti-vibration tool wrap or anti-vibration gloves that lessen the impact of that vibration throughout the shift. Some accommodations are even simpler extra grip gloves. We see these everywhere and they're relatively inexpensive. That can help people who have that reduced grip strength and it can help them maintain controls of tools and materials. You might see a joiner with gout in their fingers that find the enhanced grip reduces the effort on these extra grip gloves to hold their tools safely. Other cases, we might be looking at modifying the tool itself. That could be effective. Even something, and this is a very easy DIY accommodation, increasing the sizes of the handle of a grip, just building up that grip, making it a bigger surface area can make it a lot easier to manipulate these tools to grasp and control. So this could help someone with trigger finger or other hand-related conditions. So you will see that accommodations do not always need specialized individualized equipment or anything, or it doesn't always incur significant expense. These accommodations are often low cost and low tech, and that's okay. Sometimes small changes to the tools employees already use can reduce that strain and pain and improve comfort and help them do those jobs successfully. Okay, staying with construction here for a couple more slides. And outdoor occupations often expose employees to a wide range of temperatures and weather conditions. For employees whose medical conditions are affected by heat or cold, accommodations may focus on reducing exposure, managing symptoms, or adjusting when and how work is performed. Some conditions can make employees more sensitive to heat. This is where we might see a flagger with MS may benefit from periodic rest breaks that improve opportunities to hydrate, cool down, and recover from heat exposure throughout the day. If you're on the opposite end and you're sensitive to cold, you might help maintain body temperature and comfort while working outdoors in those unheated environments. So this might be a heavy equipment operator with Raynaud's disease, may benefit from heated clothing, cold resistant gloves, or heated seat cushions that help reduce the effects of cold temperatures. Then there's also cooling equipment that can also be effective. We see this a lot with landscapers. Perhaps a landscaper with hypothyroidism and heat sensitivity could benefit from cooling garments. There's personal cooling devices. There's lots of portable fans on the market that can help regulate body temperatures. In some cases, this might be a no-tech option. Adjusting the work schedule may be the most practical solution. We might see a concrete finisher with Graves' disease. They might be able to perform the essential functions more effectively by working either earlier in the day during the cooler parts of the day when heat exposure is less intense. So you'll see accommodations for temperature sensitivities is all about helping those employees manage environmental conditions so they can work safely and effectively. As we wrap up this construction section, we've seen that accommodations can take many forms, lifting and carrying equipment to tools that reduce physical strain. There's supports for reaching and climbing. There's environmental protections and modifications to field work. These solutions help employees perform their jobs well. And that's the goal, right? What connects these examples is a practical job-centered approach. Construction work is physically demanding. It's fast-moving. It's often performed in those challenging environments. Keep the focus on essential work moving while reducing unnecessary physical strain or posing a safety risk. In many cases, the solution is not about changing those essential functions or removing those essential job functions. It's about changing how we're going to do those essential job functions, whether that involves the equipment or it's improving access to elevated or low work areas, reducing those exposures to environmental factors, or supporting safer movement across job terrains. When employees can perform their job tasks with the proper tools, supports, or adjustments in place, they're often able to stay productive and engaged while maintaining safe work practices. The most effective outcomes come from practical problem solving, matching real job demands, and workable solutions that support both employer and the worker. Moving on. So now we're going to look at the manufacturing industry. It encompasses a wide range of sectors. There's automotive manufacturing, electronic manufacturing, food production, pharmaceutical sectors. Workers in manufacturing environments may have duties and responsibilities that include the physically strenuous tasks like moving and lifting heavy items, as well as additional exposure to irritants and extreme temperatures. The job categories we're talking about in this industry can be production line workers and machine operators to maintenance mechanics, and quality control technicians. So it really runs the gamut here in the manufacturing sector. In the manufacturing setting, I think one of the biggest limitations we deal here with at Jan is extended periods of standing, which can contribute to fatigue and discomfort. Fortunately, there's a lot of AT that we can kind of work with to reduce these physical demands. An assembler with a back condition may benefit from a stand lead stool while working along a conveyor belt. This type of seating allows the employee to maintain the reach and positioning needed to complete those assembly tasks, but it's supporting the person's body weight and reducing pressure on that lower back. In other situations, the work surface itself can contribute to discomfort. An inspection technician with plantar fasciitis may experience pain while standing on those hard concrete floors of the warehouse. So this is where we might see anti-fatigue matting could help reduce stress on the feet and lower limbs by providing cushioning during those stationary tasks. But if you have to move around that hard concrete warehouse floor, there's also wearable anti-fatigue matting that attach to the user's footwear that can help an inspection technician, for example, move between stations while reducing foot strain and maintaining mobility across the warehouse floor. The goal of standing related accommodations is often to reduce fatigue and discomfort, again, so they can stay doing those often repetitive job tasks effectively. In manufacturing environments, a significant portion of the work is moving materials, products, or tools between stations. So if you have those gross motor limitations, the lifting, pushing, and pulling restrictions, accommodations might focus on reducing the physical force required to keep that flow of material safely and efficiently. You might see an assembly line worker with MS and a 15-pound lifting restriction. They might be able to continue moving materials along that production line using a ball transfer table. This allows products to be repositioned with minimal lifting or exertion while maintaining that pace of production. In other situations, the challenge may involve transporting equipment across a larger facility. An operations manager with cerebral palsy and pushing pulling restrictions could benefit from a motorized cart, which reduces the physical effort required to move tools or equipment while still allowing that employee to navigate the worksite independently. Tool-related accommodations can also make a meaningful difference in the production floor. A fabricator with cumulative trauma disorder, for instance, could benefit from a tool balancer that offset the weight of those handheld tools, and this reduces the strain during repetitive tasks. Like I mentioned, ergonomic and pneumatic tools could also help reduce forceful gripping and repetitive stress on people's fingers and hands. You'll see that the common theme, again, you're not removing or stripping down a person's job task. You're changing the way the work is performed. So they're still completing those primary fundamental duties of the task. This allows employees to stay engaged in production work while maintaining safety and consistency. Okay, so we all know manufacturing, we're not just dealing with materials and equipment. Again, working in conditions such as noise, temperature, chemicals, and other environmental factors. When an employee has a medical condition that affects tolerance to these conditions, again, we're focusing on accommodations that might reduce exposure while keeping them working. A tester with multiple chemical sensitivity could benefit from the use of a respirator to help reduce exposure to airborne chemicals during the testing process. Again, you're continuing performing those essential job tasks while minimizing inhalation risks. Noise, another common factor in these manufacturing settings. A forklift operator with a hearing impairment that causes sensitivity to loud sounds could benefit from hearing protection that reduces noise exposure while still allowing that employee to safely operate equipment and remain aware of surroundings. In some situations, environmental modifications can support focus and productivity. A laborer with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder who's affected by high levels of noise, something like adding sound absorbing materials in the work area could help reduce distractions and improve concentration during tasks that require sustained attention. Temperature controlled environments can present challenges. Again, an quality analysis analyst with Raynaud's disease working in a refrigerated area could benefit from those cold-resistant gloves I mentioned, the heated clothing or heated seating options to remain comfortable while still doing the inspection in that cold environment. Um, a mold maker with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome working in a metal foundry might have a hard time tolerating heat. Again, cooling clothing and heat-resistant gloves could help the employee remain safe and functional in those high-temperature environments. Again, I do want to remind attendees to download these slides and revisit the links because we have so many hyperlinks and we've added even more information on those very limitations for JAN resources on the website. Again, these examples really just kind of illustrate adjusting how employees interact with the environment itself can enable them to continue working. All right, maintaining safety is always a core requirement, especially when employees are working around machinery, vehicles, automated systems. When an employee has a medical condition that affects safety in the workplace, you're focusing on maintaining protection while ensuring the employee can continue doing those essential job tasks. For example, a machine operator with epilepsy may be able to work safely using machine guards and safety shields that are designed to power down equipment if a seizure were to take place. This helps support both employee safety and equipment operation. Communication and awareness are also critical in busy production environments. A floor worker who is deaf could benefit from strobe lights, visual alerts, or enhanced mirrors that help signal the movement of forklifts and pallet jacks, reducing the risks of collisions in those shared tight workspaces. In some cases, accommodations might be modifying the work environment to reduce injury risk. A CNC operator with hemophilia may be at a higher risk of excessive bleeding if they were to get cut. So adding corner or add edge cushioning on machinery and those sharp-edged work surfaces could help reduce the likelihood of or severity of injuries in the production area. Protective equipment requirements may need to be adapted while maintaining safety standards. A process technician with diabetic neuropathy who can't safely wear standard issued steel-toed boots due to circulation issues may be able to use an alternative steel-toe footwear or protective toe guards that still meet safety requirements while addressing the employee's medical needs. Safety, we all know, is an important consideration throughout that accommodation process. Accommodations can often reduce workplace risks while enabling that employee to still maintain productivity. Okay, so wrapping up the manufacturing environment, we've explored a wide range of accommodation solutions, from tools and equipment adjustments to environmental supports and safety features and changes in how work is performed on the production floor. Manufacturing work depends on consistency, safety, and efficiency, and accommodations are most effective when they support those priorities. In many cases, the solution is not about changing that essential function, but adjusting how it is completed, whether that means reducing physical strain, improving access to tools and materials, whether you're supporting communication or adapting that work environment. When employees can interact with their work in a way that aligns with those functional abilities, they're often able to stay engaged, productive, and safe on the job. At the same time, production goals and quality standards remain intact. Of course, you're doing that individualized assessment, you're matching those functional limitations to the job tasks with solutions that create effective accommodations for both parties. I'm now going to hand this off to Matt, who's going to take us through another set of essential industries. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you, Lisa. Now that we've discussed accommodating workers who manufacture the products, let's move on to accommodating workers who focus on distributing those products to where they need to go. In distribution centers and warehousing environments, employees often operate or work around industrial vehicles like forklifts, pallet jacks, or order pickers. Because these environments are dynamic and fast-paced, the accommodations often will focus on improving visibility, communication, and maintaining control of these sorts of equipment. For example, a machinery operator with arthritis who has difficulty turning to monitor their surroundings may benefit from additional mirrors or camera systems that are installed onto the machines that they operate. Communication and alerting systems can also play an important role in these sorts of environments too. As another example where that might help, an order selector with hearing loss may not be able to hear standard forklift alarms. In these situations, assistive listening devices can be programmed to provide visual signals or vibration-based alerts when equipment is in operation, which can be helpful to allow the employee to stay alert when those things are in operation nearby. Similarly, strobe lights being installed onto forklifts or other moving equipment could make it easier for them to notice them in busy workhouse aisles. Next slide, please. A large part of the work in a distribution environment involves moving, sorting, and organizing inventory throughout the day. When employees have limitations that affect lifting, bending, or reaching, accommodations often focus on making inventory handling more efficient and reducing physical strains. For example, a package handler with fibromyalgia and lifting limitations may benefit from a compact material handling device to help them move the packages off of the pallets and take them to the sorting area. This reduces the need for repeated manual lifting while still supporting the fast pace required to meet daily operational needs. Similarly, for this particular individual, a stair climbing hand truck can also assist them with moving materials safely as well. In other situations, adjusting the height or positioning of materials can make a significant difference. An order picker with degenerative disc disease and reaching limitations may benefit from an electric lift table that raises and lowers materials, allowing the parcels to be handled at a more comfortable working level for them. Storage design can also play an important role in reducing strain. A stock clerk with scoliosis who has difficulty bending and reaching may benefit from adjustable shelving that keeps frequently used items within an ergonomic reach, reducing the need for them to be repetitively bending and stretching to get their work done. Next slide, please. In the distribution sector, employees often spend long hours walking, standing, and moving between various areas, like storage locations and shipping zones. When an employee has a condition that limits standing tolerance or mobility, standing tolerance or mobility issues, accommodations can help reduce fatigue while maintaining productivity and workflow. For example, a receiving clerk with multiple sclerosis who's been having some difficulty standing for long periods of time may benefit from a stand lean stool or some anti-fatigue matting options. These would allow the employee to sort incoming packages while having a surface to lean against or more support to cushion their weight while they stand for a long period of time, making it easier for them to continue standing while working throughout their entire shift. Mobility across large facilities is another common consideration. A quality control manager who needs to travel between multiple distribution campuses and large warehouses may benefit from a utility vehicle to reduce the physical strain of walking long distances while still maintaining oversight of their operations. They also could benefit from an adjustable workstation to allow them to change their positions throughout the day once they get to those various campuses. Next slide, please. Communication often needs to happen quickly and across large, noisy spaces in warehousing and distribution environments. Such areas could include a loading dock, warehouse floors, or across multiple different work zones at once. When an employee has a condition that affects verbal communication, attention, or mobility, accommodations often focus on ensuring they can receive and share the information that they need to share in a clear and reliable way. For example, a loading dock worker with a speech disorder who needs to communicate instructions or updates with coworkers and supervisors may benefit from a text-based paging system or portable text communication devices. This would allow the employee to receive instructions and confirm tasks with their coworkers and supervisors by texting through a handheld device rather than using their voice. Technology can also support employees who need structured real-time task updates. A packaging line operator with attention-related limitations may benefit from a smartphone-based task management app. It could have things like vibration alerts to help ensure that production instructions, checklists, and updates are received and tracked without any critical information being missed. In larger facilities, mobility and communication often intersect. A shipping coordinator with neuropathy who has difficulty walking long distances may benefit from a two-way radio with texting capabilities, allowing them to stay in contact with team members across the warehouse without needing to travel between multiple areas of the work site. Next slide, please. Just like in construction and manufacturing environments, employees in a warehouse may be exposed to environmental factors that negatively impact their disabilities. Some examples of such factors include loud noises, intense lighting conditions, fumes, and airborne particles. When an employee has a health condition that is sensitive to factors like these, accommodations often focus on reducing exposures to them. For example, a lead handler with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder may have difficulty concentrating in a loud environment. Noise-canceling earbuds or a noise-canceling headset can help reduce background noise and support focus during tasks that require sustained attention. Lighting conditions can also affect performance. An order selector with photosensitivity may struggle to read packaging labels due to glare from bright warehousing lighting. Anti-glare filters for overhead fluorescent lighting can help improve visibility and make it easier to complete picking and sorting tasks more accurately. Similarly, a shipping and receiving clerk with chemical sensitivities who experiences shortness of breath when exposed to forklift exhaust may benefit from a respirator to help reduce exposures to fumes in the work environment. Next slide, please. Not all accommodations involve equipment or environmental changes, though, and this is true in distribution environments as well. In some situations, the effective approach includes adjusting how work is organized or how the job duties are assigned, while still ensuring that essential functions are completed. For example, an order selector with cumulative trauma disorder who performs repetitive motions throughout the shift may benefit from task rotation. This type of adjustment helps reduce continuous strain by alternating what job tasks the individual does and when they do them, while still maintaining productivity and workflow throughout the day. In other situations, small workflow adjustments can make a meaningful difference. A warehouse inspector with post-traumatic stress disorder who has difficulty working alone in isolated areas may benefit from a modified inspection process that allows inspections to be completed before products are moved into storage, reducing the time spent in isolated sections of the facility where the symptoms are less likely to flare up. Next slide, please. Across the distribution sector, we've looked at a wide range of accommodation solutions, from equipment and mobility tools to communication supports, environmental adjustments, and changes in how specific job tasks are organized or assigned. What connects all of these examples is a practical approach, keeping essential operations moving while finding workable ways for employees to perform their jobs safely and effectively. In many cases, the solution is not about changing what the work is, but about adjusting how the work is done, whether that involves reducing physical strain, improving access to information, modifying workflows, or shifting how tasks are assigned. The goal is simple: maintain productivity, maintain safety, and keep people successfully engaged in their work. Next slide, please. Now that we've covered construction, manufacturing, and distribution, let's shift gears and discuss accommodating roles that focus on people rather than items. Public safety and essential worker positions like healthcare workers are also skilled trades, so they deserve to be discussed in this training just like all the others do. Next slide, please. In public safety and essential occupations, dress codes and uniform requirements often serve important purposes related to safety, identification, and readiness on the job. When an employee has a medical condition that makes it difficult to wear standard equipment or footwear, accommodations often focus on finding alternatives that maintain safety and professional standards while meeting the worker's disability-related needs as well. For example, a security guard who experiences strain on their lower back, hips, or legs may be unable to wear the traditional safety duty belt for extended periods of time. In some cases, alternative carrying systems or modified equipment configurations can help reduce physical strain while still ensuring that the employee has access to the necessary tools and equipment they need to do their job. Footwear requirements are another common consideration in these roles. For instance, a firefighter who has diabetes might not be able to safely wear standard steel-toed shoes, but they might be able to wear another form of footwear with steel-toed guards that are strapped onto the outside of those tools. So that way they can still have the safety benefits of the steel-toed shoes without having to wear ones that have them built into the shoe. Next slide, please. Documenting information accurately and in real time is often a critical part of the job in public sector. Reports, notes, and dispatch logs and written communications all support operational decisions, legal requirements, and continuity of service. When an employee has a condition that affects writing, typing, or processing written information, accommodations often focus on alternative ways to capture and manage that information effectively. For example, speech recognition software may support an executive assistant for, say, a chief of police who has limited hand and finger movement by allowing information to be entered directly into a computer by using their voice. This type of technology can also be helpful for employees with cognitive learning or sensory difficulties who may have difficulty using standard keyboard-based systems. Writing support tools can also assist employees in producing clear and accurate reports. For instance, a magistrate who has experienced a stroke may benefit from writing and editing software that helps refine phrasing and correct their grammar when preparing official documents. For field-based roles, portable documentation tools can also be helpful. A police officer with carpal tunnel may benefit from a smart pen that captures handwritten notes and transfers them digitally, reducing the strain of having to write them out and then type them in later. Next slide, please. In public safety and healthcare environments, lifting and transferring patients or clients is often one of the most physically demanding parts of the job. When an employee has a condition that limits lifting, bending, or generalized physical exertion, accommodations typically focus on reducing strain while maintaining safe and effective care. For example, an emergency medical technician with a back impairment may benefit from transfer aids when loading patients into ambulances. These tools can help reduce the physical demands of lifting while supporting safe patient transport. In other situations, the solution might involve teamwork rather than equipment alone. When a staff member in an emergency department has lifting restrictions, team lifting approaches can help distribute weight more safely between patient transfers, reducing the risk of injury while maintaining continuity of care. In childcare or support settings, simple design changes can also eliminate unnecessary physical strain. Walk-up changing tables, for example, allow small children to access the service independently, reducing the need for the childcare worker or the aide with a shoulder impairment to lift the children up and allows them to safely climb up the table themselves. Next slide, please. In healthcare and emergency response roles, monitoring vital signs is a critical function that often needs to be performed quickly, accurately, and under pressure. For example, blood pressure monitors with digital displays that show real-time pulse rates and blood pressure readings numerically may assist medical technicians with low vision or cognitive limitations by making it easier to accurately capture and record vital signs during patient care. Hearing-related accommodations can also play an important role in patient monitoring. A nurse with a hearing impairment may benefit from alerting devices that vibrate when an auditory alarm is triggered. Similarly, amplified stethoscopes may also assist healthcare providers with hearing loss when assessing heart and lung sounds. In emergency response situations, physical demands can also be pretty significant. Hands-free resuscitation devices can help public safety workers with arm and back impairments perform CPR by reducing the need for the worker to provide continuous manual force that's necessary to effectively provide chest compressions. Next slide, please. Across various essential service roles, we've looked at a wide range of accommodation solutions, from dress code adjustments to documentation tools, patient handling supports, communication systems, and vital sign monitoring. What connects these examples is the reality of the work itself. It's fast-paced, very high responsibility, and the need for accuracy and responsiveness are critical. In these situations, accommodations are most effective when they support those core demands while allowing employees to continue performing essential job functions. Now, I'll turn things back over to Tracy so you can round out our content today and provide you all with some additional resources. Tracy?
All right. Thank you so much, Matt and Lisa. We were quite ambitious when we pulled this presentation together, so there's a lot of information here. Just kind of wrapping things up here, we know across construction and manufacturing and distribution and public safety roles, a consistent theme has kind of emerged here that effective accommodations are practical, they are job focused, and they are centered on keeping essential work moving safely and efficiently. In many situations, we know that success comes from small but meaningful changes, how a task is performed, how equipment is used, how information is shared, or how the work environment is structured. And these solutions, they help employees stay engaged in their roles while supporting operational needs along the way. So we know that an effective accommodation, it should really support that safe and reliable job performance. And ultimately, the goal is straightforward. We match the demands of the job with the practical solutions that allow employees to perform effectively, safely, and consistently across all types of essential work. So lots of really great themes coming all together there. Now, Jan does offer tools for exploring accommodations to help you if you are trying to accommodate someone within your industry, such as the A to Z of Disabilities and Accommodations, which is available at askjan.org. This is an easy to use resource that connects health conditions, functional limitations with practical workplace accommodation ideas. And you can search using various tabs and search for information to really kind of get you on the right path to finding accommodation solutions. So I would check that out. If a specific health condition isn't listed there, users can, of course, contact Jan directly for that individualized guidance tailored to your situation. Another helpful resource at askjan.org is the Situations and Solutions Finder. This is an interactive tool that provides accommodation examples organized by disability, limitation, or occupation. And users can basically explore how similar workplace situations have been addressed and get ideas for possible solutions. Much like the A to Z, it is not a comprehensive accommodation solution finder. You're getting ideas, you're getting things to consider, but we always want you to keep in mind that there's no one size fits all option. And contact Jan because we're here to provide, again, that tailored assistance. Jan also offers information based on occupation and industry solutions. These are resources that are available at askjan.org, and they highlight practical accommodation ideas tailored to different types of work, including the work that we've talked about here today in construction and manufacturing and distribution and public safety. So you can find these resources at askjan.org. One way to do that is to go to our publications page, which is linked off of the homepage. You can also learn about emerging trends and practical strategies that manufacturers can use to strengthen retention and support employee development and broaden recruitment pipelines by registering for the Employer Assistance and Resource Network on Disabilities webinar that's upcoming next week, I believe. On July 22nd at 2 o'clock. So you can register for Strengthening the Manufacturing Industry, Recruit, Retrain, and Retain Valuable Workforce Talent. So check that out. And you can visit askearn.org to find the recording of their recent webcast on building a stronger construction industry, recruitment, retention, and workforce stability. So there's more information out there for you. As we conclude here, just a few more minutes, just remember that building the workforce of the future, it means using practical accommodations and solutions that help essential work get done safely, efficiently, and consistently. America's essential industries, they rely on skilled workers performing demanding jobs every day. Effective accommodations, they help employers retain talent, support productivity, and they keep critical operations moving. And as we reflect on the nation's semi-quincentennial and the coming anniversary of the ADA, we can also recognize how workplaces have evolved. The ADA, it represents an important milestone in that evolution, shaping how organizations approach work and remove barriers and support employees in performing essential job functions. Ultimately, we are collectively building the workforce of the future, one that uses effective accommodations and practical solutions to ensure essential work can be performed safely, efficiently, and consistently. And with that, I'd like to finish by thanking Lisa and Matt for your time and your expertise today. You were so appreciated. This was just fantastic information that we hope our audience will take back and act on today. As we wrap up the webcast, we encourage you to stay informed and connected with ongoing updates and resources from Jan. You can subscribe to the Jan newsletter and follow our social media channels, Facebook, LinkedIn, X, and of course, check out our YouTube channel for timely information. And if you need direct technical assistance and accommodation solutions, of course, we encourage you to contact Jan directly. Employers can call us toll free at 800-526-7234. Use the live chat at askjan.org or email us at jan@askjan.org. Now, I would simply go to askjan.org for more information. You can find all of our contact information right there. You can also scan the handy QR code right here to get you right to our website. And finally, I'll close with a funding disclosure that JAN is fully funded by the U.S. Department of Labor's Office of Disability Employment Policy under a cooperative agreement with West Virginia University's College of Applied Human Sciences through a 2-year award totaling $7 million. Everyone, that was a lot of information. I hope you can take it away and act on it, and contact Jane if you have any questions. Thank you for joining us today, and this concludes our program.